you want, you can start the whole thing there. So Darren, it's basically, this is a special thing for Darren because he's in New Zealand. So time factor, we of course have the learnings and key takeaways later in India time, 8:30. And of course, we have the closing address by Ken Cloaks. So thank you, Darren, for being part of the symposium. And then today sharing your thoughts, the learnings and key takeaways, Darren. So please, it's all about you.
Well, I think first I need to acknowledge you, Vikram, and all the hard work you do behind the scenes and having this great community coming and wanting to talk to you and share their ideas and what they do with people. You know, it's really truly wonderful that the world seems like a very small place with all these wonderful, talented people that I've seen. I've been dipping in and out of the symposium this week, sort of between client calls and meetings and taking children to school and picking them up. And yeah, I suppose for me, what was interesting, when we were talking the other night around this key document in New Zealand, Untitled, and the different interpretations of words, and we spoke about the Whanganui River Assessment Act and the meaning of the riverbed. And I was just interested from I think I saw about 4 or 5 of your speakers, anywhere between 5 and sort of minutes and half an hour or so, and just all their different takes from all different parts of the world on what your topic means and what it means to them and what it means on the ground and what the future might look like. So it's great to have all of those different thought processes. No one's right or wrong, right? Which is one of the great things about your topics, and everyone just brings what they want to. I think the key takeaway from me, if I could summarize it this way, is everyone seems to want to be part of a discussion going forward on how this great group of international mediators can come together and support each other and support communities in the work that we do. And out of that really came, I think it's a bit one of your big drivers is who are the mediators of the future? Who are we looking to in these communities? So that was a key takeaway for me, just everyone wanting to be part of this journey and get on board with sort of dispute resolution and helping each other where we could. So someone like me in New Zealand might be able to help the community somewhere else in the world, and and on it goes. That sort of pay it forward type approach that we've seen sort of take off across the world in the last few years really well. So that was really interesting for me. One is just people's interpretations and what's happening on the ground for them, and 2, this real desire to make a big difference globally as well as within their own community.
Oh, that's very nice. I mean, we've had, let me just put up the situation, who all we had. I don't know which ones you could watch. I watched all of them. Let me just tell you.
I think you were in all of them, right?
So this is what we had. So we've got, of course, Canada, Ireland. I mean, for me, all of them. Armando, of course, spoke in Spanish, and Sebastian was supposed to translate. He came a little later, so the initial part of what Armando said, I would not know, but we can ask maybe Sebastian. I've asked Sebastian. I don't know whether I've sent him a message that he can come in later in the session and tell us what was said. But I mean, just the fact that we got that perspective was important, because language should not be a factor. I mean, that's what I've been trying to tell people. That doesn't matter. Give your presentation in your language. Someone is listening to it. I mean, I might not at that point understand, but at least there's someone out there who will connect to it. So that's what Cameroon, I mean, of course, is doing wonderful work there. And I mean, the situation there on the ground, the peace process and everything. So that's coming from that perspective, it was important. Beverly Bunke is, of course, she's a Weinstein Jams fellow. She's gone to San Francisco as part of that. So she's, I mean, she has a thought process there, interesting. Beverly, of course, in Philippines, she's doing, I mean, she says, I'm not a terrorist. I'm an activist. She puts it up there. Even in the session behind her, you would find that written there because she's really, and it's perfectly all right. I mean, one person's terrorist, another person's freedom fighter kind of thing. So
Of
she
course.
puts that about. So Darren, of course, brought in two perspectives for us. Farzeen was there yesterday. Look, what it doesn't say, only we have the US flag there. So, but he's Azerbaijani and Iran, that background. So in the session, I
Right.
put all those three there with him. Gunawati comes from an academic background. She brought in a very
Mm,
serious presentation about the history and everything. Hasnain this is really interesting because in Pakistan, he's bringing us actually what the tribal community there. And this is towards the
mm,
northwest, towards Afghanistan. So he actually brought us that history, which I keep talking about. It's all there. So he brought us that, and he had, I mean, a lot of people don't have that knowledge now left of the what it was like. So he brought that. It was interesting. Huma kind of, I mean, she was not feeling too well. So, I mean, the recording on YouTube is not available because she wasn't too feeling too well. I didn't want that session to be out there because she was really, but
yeah.
he is from Afghanistan, working, studying in Iran. And again, the historical thing, and her father is a village head in Afghanistan. So she's seen that
Mm,
aspect. And I always keep telling her, I mean, everyone also, that she came into the work that I'm doing saying I don't know anything about mediation. All I had to connect word was not important. Connecting her to the process was important. And suddenly she knew everything about mediation because she's seen a father do it, seen a brother do it. So this is what I'm
right.
trying to bring out, that people know about the process, just connect them either to the right word or connect into the
Mm,
process. That's all that's required. So Ijoma, of course, is also doing interesting work in Nigeria. And I mean, if of course we spoke about, I mean, of course, I always get into the court process and all that, which I have to stop at some stage. I, I get a little too involved in that, but I really feel that's where we really have to look at it very seriously. And Jim, his personal journey, because he was in a residential school. I mean, he's seen that aspect of it. His mother was there, what he
mm,
saw and heard. So we were talking about intergenerational trauma, which Andrea was also talking about. And initially, Andrea was very hesitant to participate in the symposium. She said, "What am I going to talk about?" And then she thought about it, and then she
mm,
connected to this intergenerational trauma, and that was
mm,
really for her also. I think she's really found that helpful to understand where she's coming from. And Kathy session was a little short because she had to leave, but the fact that she's doing a lot of in relation to climate change and that part, so she had got that.
mm,
Louis, the Kenyan experience again, and Melanie, we had lots of different things that she was wanting to discuss. With Michelle, it was basically, I mean, this whole thing, of course, how the black, the whole saying that someone's black and how they go through, and how even mediation there is discrimination maybe and all that. I think those are areas
mm,
which, of course, look, I don't experience that to really to be able to understand where someone is really getting affected, but she's had all that. Payal took us a little bit through the history of the things in India. Preeti was also, there's a little short session there, and Cecil gave a very interesting aspect of the Ottoman Empire, looking at it there. And this is where it was
mm,
interesting, that imperialism against colonization. So in the Ottoman Empire, there being a peacemaker concept, and which is what I
right.
was trying to put across, that the when you're ruling in that sense, you really want society to intermingle and you want peace and harmony in that. So they have the
Mm,
concept of encouraging peacemakers, and on the colonization side, you don't want that to happen, because that goes against your wanting to, you're ruling in a different way. So that was
mm,
interesting. Was she brought a proper presentation, and she even brought photographs of, because Ottoman Empire was in different various parts. So she brought people dressed up in different parts, the Balkans there and
right.
all that. So that was interesting. I don't know whether you went to see it. Sophie's session is also not there on the YouTube because it went into a totally different direction. So I said, look, let's not put it out there, because I just feel that I mean, let's keep it to the topic because she was talking about general things there. And Thomas is doing things in relation to the theft of art, and then how mediation can help. Because, of course, he started with the Kohinoor and this history. I mean, little bit on the Kohinoor, because there's a lot of history of the Kohinoor, the diamond, which of course you would know where it is. You know where it is.
I saw it a couple of months ago in person. Yeah.
Okay. So you know about it, but you do know the history of it. There's a documentary on Discovery, at least in India we see it. I don't know whether that is available in other parts, how it is. And it's a very interesting story. I mean, how the diamond has actually been one of those symbols of power kind of thing, and how it's moved it from India, it went out and then came back. Some very interesting story. How a diamond can do this, I don't know. I mean, it's amazing. And one got a very interesting perspective on how in organizations, and which is working in the renewable energy sector. And she's interestingly in an organization, how colonization and that the impact of it affects people's behavior, the aspect of even, I mean, their interaction with people and everything. She started that whole thing. I heard it from other people, that aspect, a little bit on that, but she started that discussion, and that was really interesting to me. I mean, that how people's mind, and which is also what I wanted to actually bring out from this, because it is not just as simple as, okay, this was a colony, how it's affecting individuals, relationships, emotions, all that. And Wale, of course, also took us step by step as to how the whole thing develops, and interestingly, how the layer of a lawyer developed. And the British representative, you had to go through a lawyer to represent yourself, and how that layer gets created. So basically, of course, let me put that out. You know that in the scale, the drill, mediatorvikram.com has the, of course, all the connection thing, but main thing, where is the schedule lying, so that of course people can look at the YouTube link. So one, you can just click here, this takes you to the schedule. And otherwise, the schedule of this connecting thing, for me, look, I really feel that if there is some simple way that people can find the information, just make it simple for me. So I put one post of, say, on the Telegram channel, one thing there, and I put something, and if everyone just has a look at it, so it makes life easier. Because otherwise, so many posts going out, you would also get confused and also say, oh, Vikram keeps posting so much, so what am I going to look at? I think we need some centralized thing. So this was supposed to be that central place. I mean, come to the website and know what's happening.
This is the repository.
Yeah. So this was, of course, what we had. Those other shows, because the thing is that the other shows are getting missed out because of these events. Because the In Conversation with a Beautiful Mind and Media Experiences, at least I had 2 episodes of one episode of this, at least in this month. But that connection should not be lost, because those are also important. So of course, it's a schedule here. I don't know whether have you had any look at any of these, the heart, soul, spirituality, and mediation?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen any of those. You're showing me all of these things that I'm very interested in watching on your website.
So this is where the playlist is. So you'll see all the videos there, and you can watch whatever. Of course, Ken Cloke kicked it off, so definitely his session, you should watch all of them. I mean, so that's something I would want. But Ken Cloke, at least how the kind of direction he gave there, indigenous peoples and mediation, of course, that part. I don't know whether you saw that, but like I kept saying, that the idea was to break it up only because I did not want the positives and the negatives to get merged. Let's see the positives and then the negatives. So in a way, this should have been the last year, that symposium on mediation in our culture and traditions. So this should have been that again this year. But then I said it'll all get merged together and we'll lose out on the specifics. So divided. Next year, again, I'm doing a combined thing, and let people talk about the larger thing. But last year, a lot of it went, of course, in the current situation and currently what's happening in their countries, the legislation and all that. So let it all come out. I mean, but the only thing I'm thinking, that let's keep the sessions for 30 minutes and have lots of more people.
Yeah, I've got you. So how's it all gone from your perspective? Have you it's been the symposium. Has it been going well for you, Vikram? You've
you really,
had lots of very interesting talkers,
yeah, the talks have been great.
come along, and I'm sure you've learnt an amazing amount of information.
Yeah, it's been, no, no, it's been really interesting, but you should not have touched this because it's like touching the raw nerve. What that session that I had with, there was, of course, there were five back to back. There were four back to back sessions,
Right.
and the whole thing lasted for 5 hours
Wow,
continuously.
you must have been pretty tired at the end of that.
Tired, I have a blood clot on my ear. In
Wow.
my eye, there's a, because of
Yeah.
strain, you can get a blood clot. I have that. So that is my what is it, stamp of the symposium going through. But otherwise, I mean, anything other from all this that you heard and everything, has your thought process changed? Have you looked at things differently?
Yeah, from the discussion that you and I had, um, after I gave my presentation, I went out and had a discussion with my wife about some of the things that we were talking about, and it just got me thinking to all of the sort of the processes that I'm involved with in New Zealand in a mediation space, and just how they're sort of formed or have come about from being from colonisation in lots of ways. Um, and I was sort of staggered when I sort of really sat down and thought about it all, just how mediation works here, what was left behind from colonisation, and then actually how it's different from in a Māori perspective, and then just where they interlink, where they don't. So it's got me thinking a lot more about what happens here in New Zealand and how it's got to that, I suppose. Um, I've recently I've been asked to do a mediation, a neighbouring dispute, and it's really got me thinking about how I'm going to approach that mediation compared to how I might have approached it a few weeks ago before I delved into this more and done some more research. So it's had a bit of an impact on me and my approach just for this next mediation coming forward, which is a nice thing. And I'm going to challenge myself to learn a few more things from one of the households than perhaps I might not have done previously. So I'm quite looking forward to that.
Yeah, because I think that this is one of those things where maybe you have to really sit down with the Maoris, and maybe a lot of things there also might be getting lost. I don't know. I mean, what's really
Yeah,
happening in those communities there, but
yeah, completely. There's a couple of people who are well, sort of big characters in the Māori community where we live. So I've reached out to one of those this week to try and get a little bit of guidance on some protocols and things like that. So that's going to hopefully help me when the need comes up that I should have to use it, because I think when we spoke the first time on Zoom, I'm very conscious of being a white Englishman in a colonized country. I just think the more I'm aware of these things, and the more I'm aware of what's right and what's wrong in terms of practice protocols, the better practitioner I'm going to be, really. Across the board. And Auckland, like most a lot of places in the world, is very multicultural. So then you sort of take it from, well, you really should sort of delve into the indigenous practice and protocols, and then you take it a step further and say, well, actually, there's 40 or 50 or 60 or however many cultures in a not very big space, and there's just lots to learn, right? In a good way. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think the thing is that, of course, like you said, why should you be, I mean, or should you be even participating in the symposium? Look, I look at it from your perspective that a lot of that history is something that you're also not aware of, because your history books were not definitely talking about it. So now it's a good experience for you also, to a certain extent, to be able to understand what people went through, because it's
Mm,
not you doing it. It's not you doing it. I mean, look, I mean, these are things we don't even understand what goes on someone's mind. Genocide is something. What is that power and what goes on? So that's a different thing. But the main thing is that the history part of it is good to hear this. At least it should not repeat itself, kind of thing. So,
mm,
and because one is the general aspect of it. Okay, this happened. One is the person actually taking you through the effects of it, and to
mm,
be able to understand that this affects lives. These are people's lives which have not, it's intergenerational aspect is what the interesting part is. What Jim, who spoke, of course, like I said, we've been in a residential school and experienced that. He's put out a post today about his this term called ethno stress, the terminology called ethno stress, and how these communities get affected by this intergenerational aspect
mm.
of it. So I think it's a good thing to understand. And I'm like I said, I mean, I don't know how much in the UK also the younger generation would know. I mean, I really don't know, because when I hear from them, they say that they don't know too much about it. They don't really, they were
No,
not told about it.
that's quite right. So, and the comment you made, it's not in your history books. You're right. You know, when I was at school, you don't learn about these things. You learn about it's a long period of history, right? In Europe, and you just don't learn about um, colonization. You learn a bit about around where there might have been successes in certain key battles, but not much more than that.
Yeah, because when
So
it comes to,
so I came here and I was blind to a lot of this thing,
yeah,
a lot of these things, and but I suppose to be fair, was quite shocked when
yeah.
you start to discover these things.
Yeah, because it shocks you all the time that you get to know. Because this is not something. Look, these is history books, like I keep saying in the symposium. I was saying also that this is something that you will hear what people want you to hear. So this is the politics of the country at that point of time and everything.
Mm,
But
quite.
like Andrea was talking about Ireland, so that says there was a famine there, and famine. She says it was. I mean, it's not famine, but people are not calling it a genocide. So
Mm,
similarly, in India, there was something called the Bengal famine, where the similar thing happened. And of course, people are calling that a genocide. Huge. I mean, when you have 2 million people dying, so it's like, and
mm,
in a situation where you are exporting food out of that country when people in that country are dying. So it's a terminology, how it's put across to people. So I think it's a nice thing to be for people to discuss it. It's not personal. It's not personal. I mean, so it's and this will help you, because definitely mediation in this aspect, of course, understanding the intergenerational aspect, definitely, and to be
mm,
able to get into that, the example of Andrea herself, she was hesitant to be part of the symposium. She said, I mean, in the sense, she said no, what she was going to talk about, and she thought about it, and then she came out with this whole presentation on the intergenerational thing, which helped her also to be able to get into that. So similarly, in mediation and in general, to understand people, sometimes you have to dig a little deeper into this aspect, but they might not
mm.
initially be able to connect it themselves. So I think that's been important. I think that's been nice. So
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the things that we do, right? Is we make connections with people so that they can talk to us and we can help them through the discussion. Um, and yeah, I think what you've done, especially well for me particularly, and it sounds like for Andrew as well, is you've kind of enabled us with the invitation to look at these that history, understand it a bit, and be able to sort of work through it and work with it.
yeah, because I think that, like, I mean, the fact is that it's not about you not knowing about it, because that won't help. So it's you knowing about this.
Mm,
And I don't know whether it's not about you being apologetic about it, because it's not you doing it. It's not
no,
you personal.
exactly.
And because you feel you might be put into that situation and you don't have that discussion, that won't be good for you. Because like I said, let's look at it from the mediation scenario. You have people coming to you, and if you just stay away from that topic because you don't want to get into it on a personal level and that kind of thing, no,
Mm,
it's let's just talk about it. I mean, it's happened, it's whatever, and it is something which is affected. And of course, you're being able to understand them, of course, is the important part. Not, I mean,
yeah,
there's no concept of, I mean, look, I sometimes, I don't know how that I mean, your understanding of it, your feeling of it, how would they relate to it? You're being able to understand it, because it's not about pity or anything like that. It can't be that. It's about being able to understand also, and then being able to, I don't know, I mean, how you would deal with it, because your situation is different. I mean, your situation definitely might be different. I'm not saying it's different. You are not, like I said, it's not personal, but I don't know, that aspect of it will be something only you can understand, how you would deal with it. Someone telling you about it in this, and not in a professional setting. One is on a general level, you're having a conversation somewhere. Now in a professional setting, that aspect is coming out, and the intergenerational aspect is coming out. How would you deal with it, Darren? Please tell us.
Put me on the spot. I don't know. I suppose it's all about context, right? Um, I suppose like any good mediator, you need to listen a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think listen, engage, um, is the way that I would approach it. Yeah, but look, I'm glad that you pointed out that I wasn't the one doing it, so we just get that out there. It wasn't Darren, but Darren is working hard and
Yeah.
trying to do things.
But I'm also trying to understand. I mean, I'm putting myself in your position, because it's not about being apologetic. It's not about pity. It's still understanding. And I'm just thinking, because I can't put myself in your position. So that's something which, of course, for us, it's easy to say the colonizer did this, the colonizer was doing that. It's very easy for us to say that, but for you, you can't say that. So, I mean, for
No.
you, it's still the colonizer. I'm saying, maybe you need to disconnect from it and say that's still the colonizer mindset, and that's not what is the present situation. Because if the same attitude people see around them again, because I'm saying the colonization of mediation, which I discussed a lot in the sessions, that this aspect of creating this class distinction, because this is the qualified mediator, you are inferior because you are not qualified. And I'm saying the person who's actually doing it on the ground in communities,
Mm,
and to say no, you are inferior, is a colonized. That was how the colonizer went about it. That what
mm,
I bring to you, the person I bring to you, is the superior person. So this class distinction will, for me, in countries like ours, where you'll hear about it so many times, the rural population part of it is huge. And to create that class distinction, that trust in the individual that they have in the village, to now
mm,
take it away, because they're telling them, no, this guy doesn't know anything. What I am sending to you is not a colonizer. Now it's not colonizer as in the British or anyone. Now it's the institutions. Not the institutions
mm,
doing it. Wherever, so they're from various parts of the world. So it's not from anything from any one country. So now what they are bringing in is this individual who's coming into that setting. And now you are supposed to deal with this person as a special person, and your person as someone who does not know how to go about it, which is the saddest thing, because that
mm,
person is today delivering on the ground. People trust the person, they trust the
mm,
process. So this is something that we have to be really careful about, which will be you for you also. I mean, what you are doing in New Zealand and with the Maoris or whatever, to keep that aspect, that those people value those people in that community, and work around that, and how you can bring that into what might be a very, I don't know, professional setup of what they call professional
mm,
setup of mediation, or this modern mediation, whatever words you can use. I mean, various words available, but to
mm,
be able to bring it there on a reverse basis. So that is what I want to do, so that people can understand that this is delivery on the ground, it is trusted, and how to create that around mediation, the informality of it, which we were
mm.
discussing that yesterday also with I think, yeah, with Farzeen. I think Farzeen, yeah, with Farzeen we were discussing that. So I think that's something that I feel is something which you should, in whatever way, be able to take it forward from there. I think that's, if that happens, I mean, that'll be a good situation if that happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what I think what worked well for me here was finding someone who was willing to um, talk to me about things like that, and practice and protocols, what to do, what, and probably more importantly, what not to do. So that was a really good introduction for me of just having a pathway for working with the Indigenous Maori community in mediation here. So, just putting your hand up and saying, look, I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to offend anyone. What are some do's and don'ts? And that was, and then you've got to continue your other than the basics, right? Um, and you asking me to do this presentation to help me in lots of ways, open my eyes. It's got me more intrigued. Making more connections, which can only be good. So I've got a question I've been wanting to ask you. Is you've heard from lots of people around processes that exist on the ground. What interesting processes have you heard that are coming out from a decolonized space around the globe?
Look, I'm saying that, look, the indigenous people and their processes and what they bring into that, of course, the spirituality aspect of it. Because this is more from the last symposium, because of course we were discussing more of the processes there. I mean, from there. So one is, of course, the aspect of bringing in whatever they bring their rituals or whatever they have to. Let's open our mind to that. I'm saying that this whole modern concept of that box that has gone around, to be able to go beyond that, and there is a world around it, and this is people to people connection, which is, again, listen to Farzin's session, because Farzin also has spoken about it. Yeah. So because what basically the idea being that one is a kind of a, let's call it a clinical approach to it. And this is a process. We have to do this, cut, and we go over it. So basically, to open our mind to the fact that it's connecting people. So how do you connect people with each other? And how, look, one is in their culture, like you said, do's and don'ts that you are looking at. I go beyond that. I say, look, you go in with a good intention, and what Jim says, good mind. I say mediator mindset. He says good mind. They use that good mind in their culture. So if you go with a good mind, you know what to do. So now you are not wanting to, do's and don'ts in your minds are not coming up. It's about me going with a good mind. And because, look, at the base level, human to human connection, if that is made, people don't get offended. They know you coming with that good intention. So be yourself. That's the way I look at it. So process wise, everyone will have their way. So this circle concept that comes up, the idea being that everyone is participating as equals. Because I'm telling you, this whole head of the table mediation concept and all, it just changes the whole environment. It's a different concept. I'm telling you that there is a totally different world on the other side. And I don't know what you are told, that you have to do this, and if you're stuck in something, then I don't know how you're going to deal with it. But if you are not stuck in something, that, oh, I am told I have to do this because of my professional affiliations to some institutions, I have to do this, then you'll be doing it in a clinical way. So you're not bringing yourself as that human being interacting with human beings. Now part of it is a machine. I have to go tuck, say this, what we call, people say, opening statement, which we are moving away from, which is orientation, is what Jeannie used in the World Mediators Conference, is what they use. So one is, if you're doing it, everything comes out, but it's a conversation happening. The other is you're creating that environment, that this is some formal process, this is what I have to put across, and that checkbox kind of thing. So that part of it is something, I think, which is not the way it is done. So the process cannot be that. The other thing, I think that the trust part of it, that's something that is important. Of course, respect is also what people are saying. So it's something, I think it's that respect and trust in the individual, and which you have to create, because obviously in those communities, those are people who, the elders and all that aspect of it, that there is something already that people have seen. So you are going through with that, and you are participating in a process which you are familiar with. That happens. Now if you have to create it somewhere else, and people are not familiar with this, and they moved away from it. So we're talking about bringing in from these communities into a practice which is part of what modern, I don't know, look, I don't know what word to use. People use modern, people use professional, whatever word they want to use, it doesn't matter. But bringing it there might not be, just the fact that in their lives, maybe that is not what happens. Maybe they're used to processes. This is the way it has to happen, to open that part. and how do you open them to that? And the informality in general, and I mean, again, let me go back to yesterday only, Farzeen, how what he was saying, that even the conversations that I have. So he says, I mean, this is nice and open, and it goes organically, and we go where it kind of thing. So that aspect, I think, and that he also saying that we're missing these days. That aspect has become very formal, structured. So how do you break structures? Because people who are used to structures, how do you do that for them? That's something which will be, I think, a challenge maybe for you. I don't know how you look at it. What would you think?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. Because I suppose a lot of us do work with those sort of old frameworks or structures that you're describing there. I'm just thinking about it myself. I suppose I do in lots of ways, and probably don't in some ways as well. So particularly when you get to that really good information sharing part of a mediation, whereas a mediator, you probably don't say much, if anything, but you're doing a lot of work, really listening, ready to say something if needed, but just letting people talk, um, and I suppose then you look at that, are they then bound by those old structures of you have a go, then you have a turn, then you have a turn, then you have a turn, then you have a turn. You're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's what I want you to break out of this. Exactly what I want you to break out. Look,
Yeah.
these are individuals, and it's such a unique situation. These are unique individuals that have come to you. It's you, a unique person who's interacting with them. So we just feel, take it as it comes. No, it's not that you're tied down to anything, which is again what I'm saying, that if you're tied down because of certain professional affiliations, breaking out of that, am I in some way violating my professional standards and all that whole discussion? I mean, I really feel that people have to have with themselves, that those things have been created. Again, I'm connecting it to colonization, not colonization in the sense of what otherwise, colonization in the sense of how you want to create a structure, the hierarchy of a structure and all those things, and take it and reproduce it in various places. So we have to be able to break out of that itself. And I mean, how? Because look, finally, like you said, I mean, it's not about just letting people have conversations. Sometimes in certain conversations, you'll have more of a role to play. Sometimes you might not. It'll happen as it happens. So I just feel that if you are thinking about it, then you can't be the person you are. So all I keep saying, and that was the Heart Soul Spirituality Symposium. The authentic self is what we were talking about there. What is the authentic self? There is no such answer there. We were just discussing it, that what can be an authentic self. But just if you bring yourself to it, and you are not, it's now no holds barred kind of thing. It's you person, and take it as it comes kind of person. To be that person itself is going to be difficult for certain people because of the structures aspect of it. How can I be myself? I've been told this is the way it's done. No, it's not done in any way. It's done how Darren wants to do it. That's how it is. So it's a mindset thing, and this is conditioning of the mind. And we talk about the colonized mindset. This is another colonized mindset which has been driven into people's mind, and that's where I have a problem against the factories, or the 40-hour factories, because you're trying to drill a certain concept into people's head which doesn't exist. It's a free flow of emotions or connections between people. How can you tell someone in this situation, whatever be the situation, this is how you have to act? How does it work? I mean, these are individuals. I think you're in a way undermining the uniqueness of individuals, which is again comes from colonization. Again, colonization, and now it's that sense of colonization, the dehumanizing of it, which we talked about yesterday, the dehumanizing of the whole process, any process. So he works in the diversity, equity, inclusion kind of area, and there also he's saying now it's like a process. So basically, I'm just saying that dehumanizing, wherever it's happening, we have to change that, and that's where the human touch, the humanistic approach will come in. By itself, those connections will be made, because as a person, Darren, you know that you're a good person, and you just want to be do good things there. That's what you want to do, and it'll all
Yeah.
come out, and that is what people will connect with. That person who's sitting inside, not that layer, that box which has been created around you, that this is the
Mm.
person, this is the mediator, now he comes into the room, this is how things will happen. To break out of
Mm.
that, then and only you would know how to do it, because I'm saying this is happening in every country. That box has gone around, and that box has gone around maybe from countries where the approach in terms of relationships with people itself, that is the way it happens, but we are not bound by
Yeah.
that.
No, I think you're right, and it all depends on. For me, it all depends on the people you're working with. You get to spend a bit of time with them on their own without the other party or the other participants present. And you really get an idea for what it is they want to say, what it is that's going to cause them some grief or conflict in the discussion. And so you tailor the approach of how they share information to make sure that everyone can be in the best place possible. That's, I think that's one of your jobs as a mediator, right? Is to break down some of those structures that you're talking about, so that you can have people engaged in the best meaningful way that you can. And I do some work for a company quite regularly, and they've got their offices. It's quite near a beach in Auckland, um, and I always ask the people who I'm working with when I see them in their offices whether they like the ocean and the sand or not, because sometimes if they're really struggling, I go for a walk down the beach with them, get them to their good spot, and then we go for a walk for 10 or 15 minutes and come back in. So it's just about giving people the opportunity to do things in a way that's going to work for them. And I think you just got to tailor that slightly differently for every group of people or participants that you're working with.
Yeah, because of what you just said, I mean, that's you've broken a certain structure, but then you went back to it. You said, then we walked and we came back. I'm saying that coming back is
Mm.
what also you need to change, because we were talking about it. And again, the heart soul
Yeah,
spirituality one, that
yeah.
just bringing people under the tree, this whole concept of the mediation room, the mediation table, we just have to break out of all that. It's like on the, you not just walk on the beach, maybe just sit on the beach and do it. How does it matter? These
Mm.
are individual to individual interaction. That connection that you're creating, it won't matter. So that's a thing that step by step, I mean, you've done one step, you've gone out and come back. Now we just want you to stay out there, because I think I'm telling you, these are just things people have created in their mind. It's like, it's people that you have generally have relationships with, and you take a walk and you're talking about things, and
Mm.
a lot of I don't know, some people give advice, some people have that whole the empathy aspect or whatever it might be, but it all comes out in a conversation. It's going to happen in a coffee shop, you talk, or walking on the beach. That's exactly what it is. It's just being able to connect on that level. It's now that there is no such bad, that's what I think, that's where the authentic self and everything comes in. Then now
Mm.
there is no barrier. And like I said, that look, the institutionalized aspect of it, and that box which is going around will want you to create a box around yourself, and that's the way it has to be done. But to be able to
Mm.
break out, if it is the decolonization aspect of it. So because as we were discussing in the symposium, that decolonization of countries hasn't really happened, because that mindset has continued, those structures have
Yeah.
continued. Same thing on this end, about you really haven't decolonized what the box of mediation that has gone around, and you are living in a place where that, I mean, though you have that opportunity to be able to work with people who will appreciate what you bring in. That's the best part.
Mm.
And I don't know, look, I don't know beyond the Maoris and in what is the general atmosphere in New Zealand, only you can tell me. But has that culture also, on a reverse basis, has the Maori culture spread into the country as such?
Um, no, I think it's very distinct. Is my sort of me looking at it. I think that there's a Maori process, an outlook, and then there's what they call Pakeha. So that's non-Maori. Maori called the white man when he arrived said so. But it means anyone who's non-Maori. Um, so there is a lot of work being done to try to interweave, that sort of structured, colonized process along with the Maori worldview. And in some ways, it works really well. There's lots of work to be done in lots of areas where it can be better. And there definitely is a drive that I've seen, certainly in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been here, where Maori culture perspective is more at the forefront of day-to-day life, which is really good.
Yeah.
So there is definitely more of a bringing those sort of two ways of thinking together a bit more. And I mean, I look at the way that I remember my wife saying to me, so my wife's an optometrist, and she used to work in the hospital in Auckland. She says to me that when she'd have Māori patients, she'd say to them, like, how's your health? And they'd usually have sort of 4, 5 or 6 whānau family members with them. And they would talk about all of their sort of immediate and extended family's health as like as a collective.
Yeah.
And there'd be an auntie or an uncle in the room sort of nudging the actual person whose appointment was, tell Ella that you're not feeling very well and this isn't going very well. And I just love the whole idea of, rather than it being a neoliberal perspective, it's well, who's the people that matter most to me? Who's the nucleus? That's the health. And then a lot of people come from that nucleus and come and support you in all of those, what could be stressful meetings. I thought, what a wonderful way to do it. I think most people would actually like that approach, where you feel supported, and you're part of this really great ecosystem.
Yep.
Quite different to the British colonized way of doing things. Yeah,
because I think that's the good part that you have. I think generally I think there is a move towards, at least, I don't know, look, one is to how much to integrate, at least to maybe appreciate. I think maybe that's the first step, that you appreciate. And the good things, I mean, I'm sure in every culture would be Maoris or otherwise. Definitely there might be negatives. I'm not saying everything is a positive everywhere. So to be able to take the positives from both sides and to be able to bring out a culture there. So I think that that world mediation circle and those circles, I think that's for me, that's what the idea is, that just bring in people who have a certain mindset, which is, like I said, the collaborative mindset, humanistic aspect of it. Let's bring those people together. I'm not saying that everyone will have that immediately, but there will be people who have. So we'll start small, and that grows as we go along. So that's my way of going about it, because then we appreciate the good things, because people bring in the good things. When good people interact and come together, the good things come out. So now you're not sitting and you're not going into the negatives or things. You have to get the positives and work together. I mean, that's the thing. So that's I think where the real work happens, to be able to first identify the people who really have that mindset and bring them together. So that's what, Darren, you need to do. That's how it needs to happen on the ground. This is on the ground. When you said be part of the world mediation circle, that's why I said the meeting has to happen, that this is now work on the ground. And how that step, it's a step-by-step process. First, for the world mediation circle, you have to send me a gift. That's where it all starts with. These events and shows go on. That's a parallel thing. So you can be part of that only. It's totally your choice. But this one is about, because this is about working together, and up till you don't appreciate, because it's going to be around me, which is what I said yesterday also, that this whole thing, I mean, it's around me only because there is something that I have to connect with those people and bring. When you say like-minded, so it starts with me liking that mind.
Well, that has to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. So there's a common connection there. That'll be the common connection. So that's why it's an individual kind of thing. It's not I don't want to create an institution around it. It's an individual thing, but these are individual connections. So when that connection grows, and then we have those people coming together, there'll be good conversations which will happen. And I think good things will come out of it. I mean, they definitely will. But it's not going to be, I know there will, I mean, it's going to take its time. But you don't know how time just goes by. I mean, when I look back, it's what only been 1.5 years since my first YouTube video went out with that evolution of a
Mm.
mediator. But at that point of time, did I think that there'll be 400 well, I don't know now 430 or how many videos that there are, and that those are 430 conversations. That's what it is.
Wow.
To have that many conversations and to be able to, I mean, pick up one on the content, the other the person itself.
Mm.
So you're talking to a person, you're being able to connect, and then of course seeing how you want to work on a long-term basis. So that part of it has been good. So I mean, it just starts small. It started with one, and then it just went on and just went on. So I think we just have to make that little start. That's all. And it's very surprising that you actually find those people around you, which when you break out of those structures and connect to the person.
Yeah. I'm sure you've had, lots of those sorts of people following you and watching what's going on and commenting, and it's easy to probably pick out the ones who you might tap on the shoulder first, right?
Exactly. I mean,
Those who are interested.
yeah, because the good thing is that one is the interest of people, which would be for various reasons, and one is the person itself. So
Mm.
being able to from, I mean, of course, there's going to be lots of people whom now, because I myself do not really go out and connect with a lot of people, because I also over this time also I wanted to understand how I want to take it forward. So now, based on now whatever conversations and everything, so there's a certain direction that I want to take it now. So now,
Mm.
to be able to now reach out to lots of more people and to be able to find those people, that's going to be something which all of us have to work together on. We all have to work together.
Mm.
And I think when you have the right people connecting and finding right people, those connections will happen. So that's how things will go on. Then, so when are we starting? When does that first community that we touch, because the idea was, all I was telling people is, one school, one community, one organization is all we're going to start with. Okay, I mean, that's what we
Mm.
can start with, and those become your model communities. And then when you create that atmosphere there and that circle grows there, then
Mm.
when we when we are moving to the next one, then these people, when they interact, you have something to look back and tell
Yeah.
them, okay,
Sure.
this community, this has happened, why don't you talk to them? And then they come into that conversation and then they take it forward. That's the way I think it'll grow. Because if you think of touching lots of people and just talking about it, then that's already happening. People talk about mediation and the advantages of mediation, and all that happens, but
Mm.
on the ground activity doesn't happen so much, because it's just a word which is going around. Now it's the taste of the process.
Yeah.
So that is what we need to put out there. That's how it's going to happen, Darren.
Yeah. But it sounds as though you're sort of laying down a challenge for us all, which is good. How can we, as you say, sort of touch and benefit our communities, right? And then let that grow organically, and just slowly start to roll out where everybody's helping each other.
And it's not, I'm telling you, it's not just a social activity, social work that you're doing. How does it help Darren? That's what we're looking at. Now, how does it help Darren? Darren is now working with the community, and they suddenly see a mediator. Oh, this is the face of a mediator. They
Hmm.
interact with the person. Oh, mediators are like this, which is what the idea behind most shows were. What was in Conversation with the Beautiful Mind? That's all it is. It's about
Mm.
people being able to just hear these people. They're special people. Let them hear that. Now, up till now, it's a word that they're hearing, mediation. Then the other word is mediator. These are words, but now this is an individual. They put a face to a mediator. So now Darren
Mm.
is the mediator in that community, as known as a mediator. So one is, of course, he's creating that atmosphere there, and he's creating the culture. He's doing a good thing there. That's so they're connecting to the process. Then, as they do understand the process and they see that it works in a small way, it could be in the community, it could be a small little dispute. And I mean, I've been saying this for quite some time. Sometimes I just feel I repeat myself a lot, but I've been saying that a community, what is a community? If I say a residential community, it'll have all
Mm.
kinds of people in it. There'll be people from the business community there. There'll be people working in organizations. There'll be children. There, everyone will be part of that community. So if in that community, even a small little dispute which is happening there, and it affects the entire community, finally, that's what we've been talking about, that a community gets affected by disputes. So if you can help resolve that, how the word will spread. Okay, that, oh, that has got resolved. So who did it? Darren did it. So now Darren, whenever anything else comes up, that conversation is available now. So Darren is having conversation on other disputes. So business person having a dispute in his business talks to Darren or her. Okay, whenever I say his, gender is not the thing. Okay, so no one gets offended. It's his, her, every gender. So that person then gets you in, and then you've got work. And that's how work grows. So you actually, it's helping in relation to the work that you're creating for yourself. Otherwise, also people go out and talk about mediation, and they say, oh, mediation and everything. But now you are part of the community. You're working with the community on it. And I'm saying that I've been saying that how this whole thing will work. Let's just say for the next year, we are saying, pay us what you want. Okay. I'm not saying this is my fee. To pay us, pay us what you want. However, whatever, no, whatever they say, not a problem, because let them. Initially, the problem is, how do they value up the services of a mediator? How do they do that? Because they haven't used it. They know lawyers and this hourly thing and everything. They understand that, but they don't know how to do it. So there'll be a challenge for them also. But I don't want to help them. I don't want to help them on that challenge. Let them see. Let them put it out. Once they put it out, you'll also understand that, okay, they're facing this, and then you'll be able to maybe take it forward in the next time. Not a problem. But at least at the initial stage, that should not be a barrier for them to try the process. So that's all I'm saying. Let it be, but it's not free. That's what I want to put across. It's not free to you. There is an amount, but that amount is left to you. That's all. That's all I'm saying. See, the same thing I'm approaching, what I'm using when I say gift. I say that, look, all that I do, I'm not putting a value to it. Okay, this is for, because it's easy for me to say, okay, this is the amount people have to pay to be part of this. Easy for me to say. But the people from all over the world, they have different situations. I don't want to put them into include someone because the fact that the person cannot, maybe what someone in one part of the world can pay, the other person might not. But I want everyone to be part of it. But I don't want it to be free, because I know that free is not valued. So there is enough content which is free. Please have a look at it. More will come out there. So that is available. But this is going to be a different activity. This is work on the ground. So this is how the person benefits. You're part of the larger whole. So if there is something that needs to be brought in, and a person needs to be brought in, you have those people as part of the whole. And we'll have skill development programs, get the best of the world. But this will be for those people in that circle. So because this free part of it is not valued the way it should be, I know that. But here, this is for those people part of it, and they will have access to those skill development things, which is not just the mediator. It's actually the community also. We'll have certain things for them, which is targeted for them. So they'll benefit from that. The people in that circle. So it's everyone gets something there, but what they give you, one is to be able to create that culture there. The community can pay you, but you don't ask them for anything, okay, specific, but you say, look, do pay me something. Whatever you feel, it could be $1. That's not the thing. But because the fact of that free then will be something that you can, I mean, for you also, you need this to be your work, and for a long time. So you created that. So now you are getting gifts. Let's call it gift. So you are getting gifts. So this will be a gift culture for the next, at least let's look at it for a year. Let's see how it develops and people appreciate it. And then, look, putting an amount to things is the easiest thing to do. Okay, I can come in, I've done this in that community, I can set it up here, and I will charge so much. That's so easy. You can do that. I mean, that's up to you. If you want to do that, that's up to you. So that's an available thing. But the good part is you'll have a model available for people to look at. Okay, Darren has done this here, and he can do this. There, they might have paid you something very basic, but here now you know you have done this. You can do it. So you can say, if you want to, I mean, that's up to you. Say, okay, I'm going to charge so much to put this all together. I'm going to do this, that, because you learned from this. For you also, it's a learning experience. to be putting it together. So you've got that going and you take it forward from there. So that's how the person, everyone benefits from it. I don't want it to be a social service, because social services don't work. They don't get valued. And then the person gets frustrated and he has pressure from his family. Oh, what is Darren doing? It does this. What about work? I put it on my website. I don't know whether you saw that. And the support section.
No, I haven't. No,
Yeah.
I haven't. But it sounds to me as though what you're doing here is a colonization, decolonization mediator's gift process.
No, I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you the pressure part of it. I put it out there. I mean, of course, you read about support here, but this is which you will face. This is what you will face.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Everyone will face this, because how long can we do that?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is exactly what I want to put out there, that it's not going to be something that we are going to go out and just do everything for free and all that. No, we don't do that. We're creating something which is valuable for the community. So that's how the circle functions. And again, for people who are going to provide those skill development, whatever it could be, call it a lecture or whatever, or a whole course, the people who are putting it, giving that, providing that content, give them a gift. Send them, you if it touches you and you actually you benefit from it, send them a gift. So send it out. You're not charging anything. Okay, if Ken Cloak, we are paying him so much per. People pay a lot of money to listen to Ken Cloak. Here he is so nice and he does it, and he comes and he just gives those lectures. His hourly, I mean, for his hour is a valuable hour. For, I mean, in terms of money, also people charge. If you look at the charges, you'll be very surprised how much people pay to listen to Ken Cloak. Here is for free. Maybe they won't value it, but in this case, just send him a gift. It's so nice it'll be nice for him to also feel that yes, people appreciate what he's putting out. So he's not saying, oh, I will come and talk to you, or I'll say this only when you pay me this. He's not saying that. He's putting it all out for everyone to use. So it'd be nice for us to do that. Similarly, we'll get more people.
I agree.
If you find that that's useful for you, send them a gift. So it'll be a gift culture for some time. Like I said, let's see how long. We'll do that. Let's now maybe on 19th of July, Peacemakers Day, we'll look back and we'll say whether that is working or not, how it's worked and what you've created. Because finally, look, it's a global resource that you will be. You are not confined to New Zealand. I mean, this is now in the online world, you're everywhere. So now if you can create this there, anywhere in the UK or Australia or wherever, everything for me, look, everything is online. So how much of that you can do online, you'll see where the challenges there come up. But if there's certain physical presence is required, you can always go down. Where's the problem? You can go to the community. But if you're getting money out of it, you can spend on travel, you can do that. So you're creating those spaces anywhere in the world. That expertise is not, look, finally it's people to people, which I've been saying, it's a people to people connection. It doesn't matter wherever in the world, if you can touch at the right place and you can touch people as what that human touch aspect that we talk about, and their heart, soul, spirituality and everything, you're touching a person at a very basic level, which you can connect to anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. So
I agree.
So that is where the World Mediation Circle comes in. So you've got that circle, which is that one at your community there, but you are also part of the larger whole, where you are now a global resource for people. So that's how those connections happen. So that's it. Look, it's a work in progress, Darren. We'll take it as it comes, and things definitely. Let me tell you about my events. That World Mediators Conference, there was no one. Ken Cloak, I had told him he has to give the inaugural address. That was fixed, because it was his birthday and it was nice of him to give me time there. That was fixed. Nothing else was. No session was.
Oh, really?
I just put the word out there. I'm having these meetings. Just come for the meeting. You choose the topic, and cut. Goes up to the end of June.
Happened.
From 18th May goes up to 30th June. If you just look, I when I put it out there, I did say 30th June. I don't know how many sessions are going to be. It started with what I do is Wednesdays, Saturdays, because I don't play golf on those 2 days. So Wednesdays, Saturdays. Then Thursday got added, Friday got added, then Tuesday got added. Everything gets added. So it develops organically. So that's what Fadzeen was saying, which I liked about him, that this is all a very organic conversation. Same thing with the work I do. Same thing with the World Mediation Circle. I have a thought there. but as we go along, that whole thing will materialize into what we don't know. I don't know what is going to materialize into. I don't want to know, because then I'm putting again a structure there. No, there's no
Right.
structure
Yeah.
to it. It'll grow as it grows, and it'll grow different ways, maybe in different places. So that's how it's going to happen, Darren. So now it's late for you, as I can see. I'm sure you want to get out of this conversation. So, so
Insofar as I'm going to have to go and give my children a
no,
kiss on the head and wish them good night before they fall to sleep.
no,
Yeah, so I'll look forward to looking at some of your other interviews, and Ken, of course. A lot of the stuff's happening when we're in the middle of sleep, but it's been nice to. I've seen a couple of the talks live for half an hour or so. There's I can't remember the lady's name from India. So was it Sophie from
this symposium. Otherwise,
from Symposium? Yeah, I've seen it. I've listened in and watched a couple, sort of 20 minutes, half an hour. So it's been really great. And there's lots that I wanted to watch, and I've got a note of 3 or 4 others from your
yeah,
descriptions earlier that have now been added to my list. So I look forward to going through YouTube when I've
yeah.
got some time.
No, what I'm going to do, Darren, is I'm also going to put all these on the podcast. I haven't had time because
Oh,
obviously,
great.
so all of them on that schedule, you'll find one section next to the YouTube thing, you'll
Right.
find a podcast link. So all of them will be on the podcast. So I know that a lot of things you can listen to, otherwise everything that you don't have to see. It's a conversation. So I like people to see, because there is that person there. At least you should connect to the person and everything, because
Yeah.
when a person's talking, definitely is much better. But if in case you want to watch it there, so I'll put it out there, so that you'll have that
You're,
option also. So Darren,
you're a good
any
man.
yeah. I want people to listen to good people. That's what I want. There are good people
Yeah.
there in this world. And look, I don't watch the news. So that negativity is not there in my life. So you have these positive, good people there.
Mm.
And that's what I enjoy doing. And that's what I want people to do. Listen to good people, then do good things. That's all it is. So Darren, if you want your concluding remarks, that's what it is now. So please.
My concluding remarks, I think all I can say is a big thank you to you, Vikram, for allowing us all to have this space to talk, share ideas, and be part of something going forward. So thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. And of course, listen to all of them. And then what is coming, I don't know whether you'll be interested in that, but what is coming up now in terms of, obviously one will be this meetings in relation to this World Mediator Circle. So 2nd of October to 9th of October, which is Mahatma Gandhi's birthday to John Lennon's birthday, 2nd to
Oh
9th.
wow!
It'll be so it'll just be a time available for people who want those meetings, which is what I put down in there, that send a gift and then I'll call you for a meeting. So we'll have those meetings. Then on 13th of October, I don't know if that is something that you're looking at. This Ombuds Day is what is celebrated by an association in the US. And I feel this is an area which, of course, hasn't developed in the US also. I think the first one was appointed 50 years back, but nothing major happened. So I'm just wanting to have this discussion. In the conference, I had a discussion on ombuds versus mediators. So this is an area of practice for mediators. Look, I'm focusing on that only, which if you listen to that conversation in the World Mediators Conference, they have a larger role to play, but I'm breaking it up, which is what I was discussing there. That conflict coaching part of it is a different process, and the mediation part of it in that. So if you want to be part of it, or you want to listen to it, or look at the ombuds thing, because you have, one is the ombudsman, you have a New Zealand, you have ombudsman, and that is a different kind of a role that they play. And that's a confusion that people have, which is what I was telling them, that terminology makes a difference. So whether we're looking at an organizational mediator, will they understand that, and that role to be a specific role? So those are the discussions, and open discussion. So that's what's happening in terms of events. As the other things will come up as they come up. So that's how it is. So
Yeah.
thank you, Darren.
Look, we'll talk on WhatsApp and email and all those things.
Absolutely.
I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. You
Take
of
care.
course don't have too much of a day to have. So good night.
No,